I've yet to meet a person who says, I love lunges. I love being sore for 4 days after doing them. Yes, throw something on my back and I will parking lot lunge for days. And some women like it because they can actually feel their legs when they're working. All guys hate lunges unless you're off your meds. The point is we need to lunge. In fact, you lunge every day, probably 5 to 7, possibly 20,000 steps a day. It's called walking. And so this is lunging, my friends. This is lunging. This is a very shallow lunge. I really wish all of us in the world would lunge like this down the streets. It would be bloody amazing. But walking is lunging. It's locomotion. So how well you can do locomotion and how well you can perform the lunge pattern is important. The lunge exercise is not terribly important. But if you want to maintain your knee health, if you want to maintain your ankle health, if you want to maintain some sort of balance, you need to lunge. Now some people say, well, lunges hurt my knees. Wrong. Some lunges can hurt your knees. It's trying to figure out which lunge doesn't hurt your knees. So let me give you a breakdown of a little bit of lunge stuff. I have another video called Top 5 Lunge Variations. I'll try to post a link in the comments below. But for the purpose of this video, I don't want to go into it. A lunge, just know that it's basically splitting the legs. That's a lunge. Splitting your legs is a lunge. Now, generally speaking, as a trainer, I don't prescribe forward lunges. If a person is great at lunging, I may give them walking lunges, but it's rare. Okay, so what I prefer is a reverse lunge. Now, what is a lunge working? Most people think it's a quad exercise. I never feel my quads when I'm lunging. I may feel them burning, but for the next 3 days, my hamstrings are torn apart because I tend to be hip dominant when I use my hamstrings. You ask a woman, do you want to make this bigger and harder? Or do you want to make this bigger and harder? And they'll go, sign me up for number 2. Guaranteed. You ask a guy, they probably won't care because they hate lunges. So, here's the thing about a lunge. If I'm very upright in my lunge, this is going to be about half quad, half hamstring. Okay, there's very little glute until I go to finish this. If I want to work my quads or emphasize the quad portion of this, I'm going to stay very upright with my torso while I lunge. So this is a reverse lunge. Now, say if you want to emphasize your hamstring and your glute, well, you're going to have to stick it out a bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit more hinge to this by finishing at 45 degrees with my torso. I can feel a huge stretch in that hamstring pin. The angles of the knee and the ankle aren't much different from being here. What's different is what I'm doing at the torso. Now I am not here, I see people reverse lunging like this all the time. That's not it. It's still postured. Hamstring, glute, because of that motion to get out of it. So a lunge can be quad dominant, a lunge can be hamstring dominant. You can emphasize the hamstring by stretching it more as well by taking an extreme range of motion. I have that in another video. But the point is, we need to lunge. You just need to figure out which lunge is good for you. At its worst, Nick Tuminello made a great video on lunges. He basically did one where it's a forward lunge, but very much hip dominant. So everybody can do this with their knees. If you have the worst knees on the planet, you can still do this. Okay? So that's the lunge that you could do at the lowest level. You're going to step, and I'm going to stretch back, focusing on the hinge. Now right now, that's crazy hamstrings. I still have to use the knee and ankle to push off. Forward, hips back. A bit more forward if I can handle hips back. Okay? So a lunge can be many things. It can be walking down the street. It could be walking down the street. Okay? It could be 50-pound dumbbells in my hands, boom. Okay? It could be a barbell on my back, walking down a parking lot. Don't ever try that, I've done it. Or it could be something knee-friendly, such as that. But you need to lunge. Get over the pain factor of it all, not joint pain factor of it all. Just suck it up, stop being a baby, and do lots of lunges.